Welcome back, you guys. So before I start rolling the video, I just want to give you a little bit of context about when this was filmed. So I recently went on a trip up to Whistler to help train somebody's crew who is in the restoration business. So they do, a bunch of drywall and carpentry stuff, but they really wanted to focus on getting these guys fine-tuned for drywall. So if the video seems a little bit different than my other videos, it's because I'm actually talking to the crew and training them as opposed to spending all my energy talking to the camera like I am right now. So it will have a different feel. But while we were there, we came across the perfect settlement crack that attached to a nice big crack in the corner bead. And I think there is tons of useful information in this video. So I hope you get a lot out of it. And without wasting any more of your guys' time, let's jump right into it. Okay, we got a nice beautiful crack here that needs to be fixed, attached to a corner bead crack. I believe this was repaired. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it. There's going to be a bit of exploratory surgery going on here to get it right. But what we're not planning on doing is like opening it way up and putting new board in there. I'm going to start just by carving out this crack, throwing some screws in this corner bead and seeing if we can maybe put a few screws in here to firm this up. First thing I usually do, carve these out to just see, yeah, like it feels empty and soft right there. So something's, if it feels empty and soft, it's not a surprise that the two pieces of drywall can move independently and create this crack. So right away, you might want to come over here. You can see it's just empty back there. There was no mud gluing this thing together to help stop it cracking, at least, not soon. A structural crack, I can't guarantee that this is going to stay uncracked forever as buildings move seasonally with the hot and cold and moisture changes. But I guarantee you we could get this through at least a few years if we do a really good repair. Yeah, structural cracks are really hard to guarantee indefinitely because I'm not in control of what the foundation chooses to do. Yeah, there's a lot of mud on here. Which is good because we're going to shave off some of this mud so we can easily hide this joint instead of just building it out bigger and further. I'll show you guys what I would normally do without a bazillion-dollar sander. This is where a paint scraper comes in really handy. I won't do this in here because we'll make a giant mess, but I get a paint scraper and we can really easily shave that down. You can shave it down to bare drywall, make it a few inches wide, and now you have a really easy space to hide a nicely taped joint. Okay, I'm going to turn the suction on pretty high because I mentioned that when the suction's on higher on this thing, it digs in. That's what we want. Need a little more out of here. I'm just going to have to scrape it a little. Like the scraper might even be faster. It's just a lot messier. And you don't necessarily have to get the tape off. We just so happen to be down there, so may as well. You can see it's actually pretty well stuck on. So it wasn't the fact that the tape wasn't stuck on well, it's that there was nothing behind it. I'm pretty happy with that. Oh yeah, we just got a couple of old nails here not doing their job anymore. Let's start seeing what happens when we put some screws in here. See if we can find anything to actually fasten to. Just being really careful not to oversink them. So sometimes you don't have the option of having something to actually refasten to, but in this case we do. So that greatly increases the chance that it might not crack again. That's busted, so any loose or broken board should come out. It looks like we're just making this repair bigger and messier, but basically what we're doing is getting everything out of there that shouldn't be there. We got a couple of nails here. Anyone have like a hammer and a nail bar? I mean, we could just put them in. Now that they're a little bit deeper in there, they're less likely to come back to the surface, especially with the rest of this board being more secure. So sometimes less is more. In this case, more is more, as long as there's meat. So yeah, we had a lot going on here. Seasonal shifting, water damage, poorly secured board, not filled joint. Like any one of those things could have caused this to crack, but we have like all of them going on. So this should, I'm pretty confident that this should actually stay good for quite a while. I'll need more screws though, because I'm about to start fastening this corner bead, because it would be negligent for us to not repair this when the whole thing already has to be painted. So putting these screws in here does two things. One, it shores up this corner bead, makes it a little stronger. And two, it actually helps any poorly secured mud break off so we can scrape it off and repair it better. Okay, so one of the things you want to check for, and I could see it right away when I was doing this, is there movement between the two sheets? So as soon as I started pushing on this last time, I could see that these two sheets were able to move independently. Now that it can't, the only unsupported, unscrewed part we have is right here. There's just no wood back here. So that's why we have it there and from there up, because there was something. But now these two can't move. So the next thing that I haven't done yet is I haven't continued to really get this cleaned out. Because again, we're trying to glue these two sheets together and put a piece of supporting or covering tape over top of that. And that's what's going to really help it stay strong for longer than the check to clear. So I'm now working on taking loose stuff off the corner bead. You can see that, you remember, I screwed it in and now this stuff can just kind of come off pretty easily. So you want the corner bead to be pretty secure here. So we're getting a 2-for-1 here. We're getting a corner bead repair and a crack repair. So as long as the corner bead isn't able to move too much, I'm pushing on this part of the flange. Again, looking for that independent movement. If that flange can move, then it's going to be more likely to crack. If anything structurally moves, anything like that. So this mud is not very well stuck to this old steel corner bead. Could be a variety of reasons. It could actually just be water damage that's made it lose its adhesion. But when we go and put that nice sticky quick set with extra glue in it, nothing's coming off this. Well, I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a couple of soft spots that need a couple more screws. And it's also not uncommon for when you start screwing in this side for the bottom to start cracking. So keep an eye out for that. In this case, it hasn't started cracking, so the bottom is nice and secure. But there was that, yeah, I want it more screwed in these two spots. And the deeper this flange gets covered in mud, the less likely it is to crack. So some of these spots where it was maybe worse is where the flange was kind of coming out. Right here, you can see it. There's just less mud there. Now's the time to put any extra screws in. I don't know why I was doing that. I was just making it actually puncture the steel bead there so it went in easier. Yeah, never waste an opportunity. If there's a little hole there already, it doesn't have a nail or screw in it, you can always put another one. Yeah, there's not a lot of, oh, you know what? This bead was clinched on. So that's part of the reason why it's let go. There's like one nail here, 2 feet away, another nail. Give me that camera and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. So they use this tool right here and it sort of smashes some little teeth there. It creates an indent. Those teeth grab the drywall and it's supposed to hold it there. But clinched beads fail all the time. Goes on the corner bead, you smash it with a hammer, and it puts these little, it like makes, yeah. So go up there, you could take a look, you can see how they've clinched it on a bunch, but those just always let go over time. No, it's tiny, and it's only biting into the paper of the drywall, so like, it's not gonna last. Clinching is fully like a 1970s, 1980s old school steel bead technique. There's so many things. So many kind of old school methods we can see here that cause problems, that are outdated, why all of this is doing what it's doing. As I was reaching out way over there, I got reminded of this like annoying but accurate thing that was at BCIT. It was some dude standing on the top of a safety ladder, reaching way out. It's like, awkward positions lead to unsafe conditions. It's so stuck in my head. So the reason I vacuumed that is, I mean, think about if you're doing a woodworking joint, you're not gonna leave it full of crumbs and sawdust before you glue it up, right? You're gonna wanna get all the loose material out of there so that it has the best chance to get a really good bond. Now comes some mud. 20 minute is gonna do a great job of this because we don't want it to take all day. Okay, this is where the glue really comes in handy, and I don't need too much. We did a lot of this yesterday. And I'm actually gonna go a little more gung-ho and do a bit of extra glue. So you could do this whole thing with like these first couple of coats with taping mud, or heavyweight all-purpose, which we don't have here in Canada. Kind of wish we did. But I definitely recommend Quickset because it won't shrink. It'll set up soon so that you can then apply your consecutive coats. It's stronger and harder. Definitely Quickset with a good amount of glue added is, in my experience, the best, most durable thing to use for cracked corner beads, cracked joints. Does a good job. The thicker it is, the less it will shrink. Even though Quickset doesn't generally shrink, the dry edges of the board are going to pull the moisture out of this, and even Quickset shrinks in between those big gaps with the really dry edges of the drywall. The gypsum kind of instantly pulls the moisture out of it. So this right here, this is the most critical stage where we need to, this is the part where I look like a total noob, putting the mud on all silly. But what we are doing here is I'm forcing the mud all in this direction, in and around and behind this piece of drywall. And then I'm going to go this way and force it in. So we're not actually going to tape yet here. I need to make sure to pull most of what I just put on off so that we have the space to hide the tape on the next one and create a relatively flat joint here. But this is the stage where we're going to fill this corner bead. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Just that wiping upwards direction is forcing it into all the little cracks and helping improve the bond. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to be doing more coats. You just want, this is like the gluiest mix I will make. The other ones probably won't have as much. Just because the glue makes it a little stickier and not as easy to work with. So again, both directions. So now we're only about 10 minutes later. This mud hasn't even set up yet, but we can see
particularly in here where it can make contact with the edges of the board, it's pulled all the moisture in, and even quickset will shrink on your first coat when you're pre-filling. So that's why, instead of just getting right to taping this, that's why we did that pre-fill first. A little more water helps the mud and glue absorb into the paper tape. The fiberfuse stuff would be good, but here's why I'm not a fan. So I'm gonna risk itchy fingers to show you guys this. Both of them will tear like this, no problem. But the fiberfuse, I feel like it's just easier to like tear. My fingers are gonna itch, this will suck. But the paper, in my opinion, paper tape is stronger. And you're also using similar materials. The face of the drywall is paper. So even though it tears really easy like that, it has better shear strength. So some people would say, okay, well, what about mesh tape? Definitely the strongest, but it has a lot of lateral movement like this. And what happens when it cracks underneath there? Right? As soon as this cracks, can you see me? You can see your crack too. Can you see me? No, it's gonna hide the crack for way longer. So getting good with paper tape is my recommendation for anyone who's planning on learning how to repair drywall well. Get acquainted with and learn how to use paper tape well. Because in my honest opinion, I think it's the best product out there for the job. So I'm really trying to make sure that I let the moisture saturate into this tape for a bit. So you would never production tape drywall like this. This looks slow and dumb. I can hear all the, seasoned vets in the comments be like, I could have done 60 of those in the time you did half. But like what I'm doing right now is I'm making sure there's mud under all the tape, and I'm making sure the whole thing just got nice and saturated. Now I'm wiping it out. And now I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit here, but we know that this is gonna be under this surface and this surface. It's now got room to be buried. And just because I don't feel like dealing with a couple of annoying pieces, where did I put that mesh tape? Because I don't feel like dealing with a couple of annoying pieces of paper tape. We had that part where it was just a little bit bigger. This won't hurt. Mesh tape is good for small patches, small repairs. You remember that part that was all blown out from people hammering on it? I was one of them. Just gonna embed those real quick. Okay, now that we've done that, let's get a real knife now, not the 6-inch. Now we're actually gonna start. I'm trying to get this on before it kicks off because we may as well get ourselves a little ahead. I don't like to pre-fill and tape in the same coat, but if I'm using quickset, I don't mind taping and coating in the same coat. That's pretty good. I'm gonna leave that alone. Got more coats coming. Whoop. This is still going to take at least 1 or 2 coats to make pretty, but you get the general idea now. So 2 more coats with a sanding in between. This will be really smooth. That's really strong. This is going to stay good for a long time. So that's about it.
So yeah, that is my standard procedure for fixing a settlement crack. It really is just about first carving it out and seeing if there was anything gluing those 2 sheets together in the first place. Next, you want to make sure it's really securely fastened. So make a nice gluey mix, then pre-fill. And the reason for that, like I mentioned in the video, but didn't get into, I think, quite enough, is because when your when your tape lays really flat, and doesn't have wrinkles in it, I think when it's subject to movement, it is stronger. If your tape has a bunch of wrinkage from wrinkage, so if your tape has a bunch of wrinkles from shrinkage that occurred while it was drying, I don't think it's as strong as something that's super flat. So that's why I had that little comment and the subtitles in the video. But yeah, hopefully you guys got something really useful out of that. There was a lot of info in there, and I hope it was well articulated enough that you could digest it. Anyways, that's all. That's all I have to say. You guys, I hope your project's going really well, but I hope you're doing even better. So thanks for watching. Till the next video.